last month. Police Department, 471 calls for service last month. For the Police Department last month, we had 498 calls. For the Police Department last month, 507 calls for service itself.
For the month of March, the police department pulled 624 case numbers.
Any questions for the police department?
Can you repeat that? It was very, very difficult to hear.
Yeah, we couldn't hear.
The police department for March of 2022 had 624 case numbers pulled.
Well, isn't that something? That's way different than this letter that was sent to me about defamation and putting a wedge between the police department and eroding the public trust. Seems like if they weren't in the wrong and I was defaming by how I classified calls for service, I would be the one that has to change my terminology. But alas.
I wanted to address something that was on the agenda, which was the departmental reports, and you'll have to forgive me, the term until I think 6:59 tonight was calls for service. I think we're referring them to as cases initiated now, but prior, however you want to phrase them. I obtained the information from the Effingham 911 as the city requested each month, and I also obviously received the numbers for 624 calls, but I just thought that a little bit more detail would be interesting and prudent given everything that's happening. So when you consider everything except citizen-initiated calls, that number is 131. When you consider calls from the citizen-initiated calls and you subtract medical calls, that is 109 calls in the month of March. When you subtract medical and fire from that number, it's 99 calls initiated by citizens. And then when you subtract 911 hang-up calls, civil matters, and animal complaints, you're down to about 74 calls initiated from the citizens for criminal activity, which is about 11.9% of the listed calls for service or cases initiated. The police department's obviously very busy. They conducted 125 traffic stops and 192 direct patrol, which is just driving around. They did, GCIC inquiries, premise checks, things like that. But I just thought it was interesting that based on the budget you guys approved for FY 2022, which I believe the police department budget was $534,136. If you divide that by 12, that's $44,000 a month. So for the month of March, each citizen-initiated call costs a taxpayer $601.50, which is pretty high. So. Thank you.